just going to talk to you about the process of making the game and what I've done for making the game. So first off, was the first update of the project. I took a game engine and I took out all the stuff that we didn't need, and then I made a repository and I cloned it, so that we could work with that. Then I just tested it. So the first thing I did in the game was to make a tile map. So in Bomberman, literally in the initialize, we have, where is it? It is the tile maps, tile textures. So if we go into the folder, I'll just show you this. So we have maps, and you give it the variable, you give it the number of the picture you want, which is set in pictures. We go in here and we have a tiles text file that is read in, and so this would be 0, this would be 1, 2 and 3, and then it corresponds with these 4 images here for our map. So by using 1s and 0s and so on, we could change the layout of the map. Then the next thing I did, then I go back, and you have to load in the map, like so, from that text file, and then you have to render. So if you go down to the render, it is this. So you just do it by the rows and columns in the file, and then it gets the tile itself. So next I added the main musical score, which was literally just adding a constant. Well, no, it's from the sound bank. So we had to make a WAV bank, a sound bank. So music 1 menu is what we have in the game now. So then we have to give the file path of the WAV bank and the sound bank, and then give the actual audio cue a name. So this has to correspond with what is in this folder here. And then you can, if you initialize the audio.h, you can call audio, which I have it in round start now at this time. It used to be in a different function, but now it is in this. So I have another function up above where if menu on, play menu, and down here for round start, when you actually go to start the round, stop the cue menu and start playing the audio cue. So then I added the player class, but I didn't have the sprite sheets in yet. Sprite sheets weren't made, and we literally gave you images in the design document. So I added a basic player class, and I had all this so that you could implement the animation sheet, but I still had to make it in Photoshop. And even when I did, I still had a little bit of trouble getting the actual frames to change. I mean, rather. But eventually I figured it out at start frame, changing the start frame and end frame for every update, whether the player presses up, down, left or right. Then I added basic control functionality using the keyboard. And so and I also had like an update for the player movement, the image movement, through that. And then we go into the next one. So then I implemented basic movement of the sprite. Then I added the sound effect walk. Just while I was in here, and I already had it in Zact, so I just added that to play cue. Then I added a bomb class. Oh, and before that, I made the sprite sheet. And I had a little bug where the animation wasn't looping, but the frames were changing. So I had to fix that, and that was by doing the start frame and end frame for every single movement update. And so I made the bomb class, but it wasn't initialized yet. So I kept it going there, and then Garrett made the collision detection for the game, which were by squares. So then I moved the map into the middle of the screen, and then I changed the background graphics. Then I updated the player sprite sheet, so then eventually it went up, down, left, right. And this was done from a constant. Well, I made a a texture manager for it first. Where's that? Constants. Oh no, it'll be in here. I made a texture manager first. Yeah, texture manager, player textures, and then constants. I gave the sprite an actual that player texture image, which I will show you now. So give the path of player, and so this would be right, this would be up, this would be down, this would be left. I done that in Photoshop. Then next I added controller support for both players, and at this moment in time I also made a variable and a setter in the player class, and I'll show you that now. So they are called, it should be set keys and set gamepad. Yeah, set keys and set gamepad. I wanted to be able to differentiate between the two players, so I gave it their keys that I set up in constants, and I gave gamepad player 1 gamepad 0. So I'll just show you that there. So I have a setter. I done it in the image class. It was handy to do that. So and that was this. So left, right, up, and down, drop, and then in player it corresponds with that. So whether the if player 1 had WASD, it corresponds with that, and then player 2 could have the arrow keys. Then I added basic gamepad D button controls, which was literally just input that get that, and then I gave it the gamepad number, which would have been set here. And so player 1 is 0 and player 2 is 1. And then we go on to the next page. Wrong one. I have to go previously to get back to this. So this was starting to get towards the end of the game. So now I added all sound effects to the game, which you'll see when I run the game. And then I added thumbstick capabilities, and this was literally setting the movement X and the movement Y, and giving it the gamepad number. You want to make sure that the two players can do it. And then literally if the movement for up, if the movement to Y is greater than 0, down if the movement Y is less than 0, and it's pretty much the exact same for movement X. So that was easy enough. Then I added vibration for pickups. But I ended up changing that for the explosions. So now if we go into the explosion class, it is, where is it? Where did I put that? Oh, was it for pickups? Yeah, well anyway, there's the audio cue that I put in for that. Maybe in this version it didn't go through. But anyway, so then I fixed the check that was if player 2 was in the same position as the bomb, it kept on getting stuck. It was just a matter of just debugging the code. Yeah, and there I changed vibration to explosions. Then I added a menu pointer, and this was literally so the player could distinguish what option you on. I made a menu class for this, and it was from the image class, and we wanted, I gave it mouse functionality so that if you clicked on the that particular sprite, I gave it menu sprite 1, 2, and 3, and 4. If you clicked on that particular sprite, it done something. So in the update, you'll see that if menu sprite does switch on, which meant if you clicked on it, do this and round start and things like that. And then after that, we had a little bit of trouble with Bitbucket, and I eventually fixed it by rebasing it, resetting the back to a version we knew worked, Then I put it back, rebased it again back on top, and I copied the code